Hello everyone, this is Liz at CSN Chicago News. New members from Chicago Police Department show 44 people were murdered in the city in February of 2017. That is down slightly from 46 people murdered last February. So far this year, police say there have been 94 murders, compared with 98 during the same period last year. At least 8 people were wounded in shooting across Chicago on Tuesday, as February ended with a total of 210 gunshot victims in the city and 45 homicides by gun violence. Police counted 167 shooting incidents in February, compared to 162 in the same period last year. According to CPD figures, there have been 399 shooting incidents so far this year, compared to 404 at the same point in 2016. The Asian Papa Cinema Film Festival kicks off Wednesday and continues with screenings until May 3rd. In its fourth season, the festival will showcase the best new Chinese and Asian movies that are well known and distributed in the Far East. 18 films are scheduled to be shown, including The Gangsters in Taiwan Cinema, a retrospective of 6 digitally restored movies starring legendary Taiwanese leading actresses Pai Hong, Zhen Zhen, Bridget Lin, Feng Feifei, Su Huilun, and Kai Lun-mei from the 1960s through the early 21st centuries. The Asian Pop-Up Cinema Season 4 starts Wednesday at the AMC River East 21 Chicago. All ticket screenings including a Q&A moderated by Ron Feltham, an associate professor at the Cinema, Art and Science Department of Columbia College Chicago. The Chicago Police Department said recently implemented technology in high-crime districts has reduced gun violence in those districts. Englewood officers are now getting real-time detailed locations when a gunshot is fired. The smartphone alert goes to the officers on the street who may be near the location, and to the district's Strategies Decision Support Center. But the release of crime statistics from the department also reveals ongoing violence throughout the city. So far this year, there has been 394 shootings, down 2 from last year, and 94 murders, down 2 from last year. Johnson acknowledged the challenge remains. McDonald's acknowledged that it lost 500 million customer transactions in the U.S. since 2012, and said it plans to use tempting value deals to help win people back. The world's biggest burger chain said Wednesday during its Investors' Day in Chicago that much of that business was lost after it did away with its dollar menu. It noted that an upset was that the majority of those customer visits were lost to other major fast food chains rather than to newer rivals. McDonald's outlined its plan after having recorded its 4th straight year of declining guest counts at established U.S. locations in 2016, despite the fanfare over the rollout of all-day breakfast menu. The company also trimmed its domestic store base for the 2nd year in a row. To get more customers in the door, McDonald's said it will also more aggressively market coffee and pantries and offer mobile order and pay by the end of the year. Easterbrook also noted the huge potential of delivery, and that 75% of the population in the company's top 5 markets, including the U.S., living within 3 miles of McDonald's. After having been halted before the company's announcements, share in McDonald's gained $1.40, or about 1.1%, to $129.05. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
What is this? You might say it is the high-speed rail, the Chinese HSR. But for me, this is all but tasty rice.
What does the HSR have to do with rice?
You haven't been following the news, have you?
On December 3rd, Wang Xiaotao, Deputy Minister of China's National Development and Reform Commission and Thailand's Minister.
So complicated. What does that mean?
It means China will export its HSR technology to support Thailand's railway development, and Thailand will make a partial payment in the form of 1 million tons of rice. Trading HSR for rice is a pretty good deal. You think this is it? Of course not. Now, several countries have imported the Chinese HSR, and some others are showing great interest in it. China's first pile in HSR cooperation was Turkey. Built by Chinese companies and connecting Turkey's capital Ankara and the largest city Istanbul, the second phase of Turkey's HSR has opened traffic. This demarcation line between Asia and Europe, the Chinese HSR has opened a new chapter as it ventures into the global market. Look! Here is China's close neighbor, Russia. China has started its HSR export to Russia, and the Russian edition of the HSR before the 2018 World Cup will traverse the land from Moscow to Kazan. It is possible that in the future, the HSR will be running into Siberia. Wow, it's too cold there. Vodka must be offered on the trains. Meanwhile, in the southern hemisphere, thousands of miles away, in Indonesia, a tropical country, the Chinese-built HSR will soon link the capital Jakarta and Bandung, the fourth largest city. Indonesia, between the railway offers by China and Japan, weighed its choices. In the end, it chose China. But why, one might ask, are so many countries attracted by Chinese HSR? Here, we must mention the efforts made by Li Keqiang, Premier of Chinese State Council. Mr. Li can be called the best HSR sales representative. In Africa, Great Britain, Thailand, and Germany, everywhere he went, Premier Li introduced China's HSR to the foreign leaders. Hey, my friend, the Chinese HSR is your best choice. As early as 2011, China developed a new generation of high-speed rail that could reach 350 kilometers per hour, with an independent intellectual property rights. Compared to the systems of other countries, China's HSR is lower in cost, good in quality, and the most cost-effective. I still remember an article I read a long time ago, which told the story of China trading 800 million shirts for a single plane. Now, China gets 1 million tons of rice by exporting his HSR technology. This change in the situation results from the rapid development of China's high-tech manufacturing industry. In the future, China will also export airplanes. Next month, my Chinese friend will welcome me in Beijing. We will mainly use the HSR as we travel. I'm prepared to experience the Chinese speed. An exciting journey lies ahead.
专业的团队，丰厚的经验。
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to the Lake Cook Law Group.
投资理财、法律咨询，芝加哥专业律师团队为您的梦想提供最安全的保障。
And now let's begin with the global markets.
Chinese stocks closed lower on Thursday, with the benchmark Shanghai Composite Index down 0.52%. Hong Kong stocks closed up 0.20%. The 225-issue Nikkei stock average rose 0.88%.
The U.S. dollar ended higher against most major currencies on Wednesday, as hawkish remarks from Federal Reserve officials bolster market speculation for a rate hike later this month. Oil prices dropped on Wednesday as U.S. crude inventories rose for the 8th straight week. Gold futures on the COMEX division of the New York Mercantile Exchange fell on Wednesday after U.S. President Donald Trump's speech to Congress. Now let's take a look at the U.S. stocks from our correspondent Sun Omeng in New York.
Okay, let's take a look at the stocks market. U.S. stocks rallied on Wednesday with the Dow Jones Industrial Average climbing above 21,000 for the first time as Wall Street cheered over President Donald Trump's speech to Congress delivered Tuesday night. Investor euphoria was ignited by Trump's economic plans, which he described in his first address to a joint session of Congress. He outlined plans for $1 trillion infrastructure investment, healthcare reform, immigration reform, and tax relief for business and the middle class. Some analysts believe that the absence of protectionism comments, as well as overall tone that was perceived as presidential, instilled confidence among investors, sending equities markets higher. On the economic front, U.S. personal income increased $63 billion, or 0.4% in January, beating market estimates of 0.3%, said the Commerce Department. Personal income increased 3.6% in 2016, compared with an increase of 4.4% in 2015. This is Omong, reporting from New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you, Omong, and we'll keep you updated on the daily markets. The latest survey by the Federal Reserve showed that U.S. economy continues slow but steady growth in January, and the labor market continues to tightening.
Reports from all 12 Federal Reserve districts indicated the economy expanded at a modest to moderate pace from early January through mid-February. The survey showed that businesses were optimistic about the near-term outlook, although this was to a lesser degree than in the previous report. It also showed consumer spending expanded modestly, manufacturing accelerated, and there were some increases in home construction. Labor markets remained tight in early 2017, with some districts noting widening labor shortages. Pricing pressures remained relatively unchanged from the previous report. Officials said the central bank is considering implementing another interest rate hike soon, as the economy was close to maximum employment and the 2% inflation target.
U.S. manufacturing activity in February accelerated to its fastest pace since August 2014, signaling growing momentum for the economy.
The Institute of Supply Management said the manufacturing index, or purchasing managers index, registered at 57.7 in February. This was an increase of 1.7 points from the previous month. A reading above 50 indicates the sector is generally expanding, while a reading below 50 indicates contraction. The new orders index surged 4.7 points from the previous month to 65.1, while the production index went up 1.5 points to 62.9. The employment index, however, went down 1.9 points to 54.2. 17 out of the 18 manufacturing industries reported growth in February. The furniture industry was the only sector to report contraction. The ISM said the businesses surveyed reported strong sales and demand and expected positive business conditions. However, they also expressed their concerns about potential inflation.
China has expressed doubts about exorbitant tariffs imposed by the European Union on steel products from China, calling for an end to such unfair measures.
The European Commission recently announced its final ruling to impose anti-dumping taxes on Chinese steel plate for a 5-year period, with duties ranging between 65.1% and 73.7%. The duties are the same as the provisional measures imposed in October and are at the jewelry margin level based on the lesser duty rule. The Commission's investigation showed dumping margins are between 120% and 127%. It considered this as unfair competition causing material injury to EU producers. Wang Hejun, head of China's Ministry of Commerce, Trade Remedy and Investigation Bureau, said the European Commission used investigation methods that were biased towards host countries. He added it had ignored the active cooperation of Chinese enterprises. Wang said the Chinese government is urging the EU to comply with the international treaty obligations under the WTO. China is also calling for the EU to apply a justified and non-discriminatory approach toward Chinese companies. Wang stressed that the weakness of global economic recovery and shrinking demand are at the root of the problems in the iron and steel industries. He added China is willing to strengthen exchanges with the EU to overcome the challenges facing the steel industry.
More economic news from Europe. Australia's unemployment rate has remained relatively stable in February. Around 475,000 people were jobless.
Figures from the Social Affairs Ministry on Wednesday show the unemployment rate was 10.1% using Austria's calculations. The Eurostat definition put the figure at 5.7%. There was a continued upward trend in the number of available jobs. From February 2017, there was an increase of nearly 50,000, or 37.7%. There was a 3.4% drop in unemployment for goods production. Further decreases were also seen in construction, down 2.1%, and trade, down 2.5%. The Social Affairs Ministry said the decline in unemployment figures will continue in the months ahead. Italy's National Institute of Statistics, or Istat, reported the country's GDP grew by 0.9% in 2016 over the previous year. This was higher than the earlier 0.8% projection provided by both the statistics body and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The Istat noted that in terms of volume, the GDP increased above the level registered in 2000. Italian Economy Minister Pier Carlo Padoan tweeted in response to the new figures, saying growth is still too slow, just like it was before the crisis.
Leading manufacturers are showcasing their latest efforts at this year's Mobile World Congress, or MWC. Catching the attention is the first signs of the 5G era, a form of ultra-fast mobile internet that China has played an important role in developing.
According to forecasts by trade association and event organisers GSMA, commercial 5G networks will start to be rolled out at the beginning of the next decade. GSMA predict 5G connections to reach 1.1 billion by 2025 and could spark a new generation of the internet and how we connect with the world.
Show some of the great products and services that are coming out of the evolution in mobile, so things like 5G and the Internet of Things, and really kind of showing the new products and the reality of these innovations and how they are being delivered into the market today.
Stuart Revel from the 5G Innovation Centre at the University of Surrey in Britain told CNC that 5G will be all about vertical sectors and products created for specific customers, markets or users.
So we had 1G to 4G, which was all about telephony and mobile broadband. 5G will be all about vertical sectors and enabling things like healthcare, automotive, energy, smart cities. So very different, very new applications and services solving social economic challenges.
Chinese companies were well represented at the MWC, with some of them showcasing their latest 5G innovations.
Here in Huawei, we have the new glasses of virtual reality and augmented reality, and we are testing with the F1 car with its mechanics fixing things.
With 5G possibly having such an important impact on future tech, some attendees were keen that an international approach be taken.
I think what's going to be important is to harmonize what China is doing with what the rest of the world is also doing, so that we have a standard platform for 5G rather than completely different platforms for 5G.
China Communications Construction Company has started construction works on a segment of Serbia's E763 highway. Economy Report has more.
The Surčin-Upper Novak segment is 17.6 kilometers long. The opening ceremony was held on Wednesday at a construction site near Upper Novak.
I promise that we will invest all technical and management capacities of our company in order to finish the project as fast as possible, adhering to all standards.
The commercial contract for the construction was signed last June during Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Serbia. Once finished, it will enable transport from Belgrade to Upper Novak and further towards Montenegrin border.
We also hope that this project will be a good opportunity to start cooperation with the Serbian government in other areas and secure accelerated growth of Serbian economy by building roads and bridges, as well as cooperation and friendship between our two countries.
Serbian Prime Minister Aleksandar Vučić and Chinese Ambassador to Serbia Li Manchang were also present at the ceremony. The Chinese ambassador expressed hope that Chinese companies will be appointed to construct the remaining part of the new highway.
I hope the Chinese company continues to show that it is a capable, powerful, responsible company, and that it continues to work on the highway towards Montenegro.
Vosek said the highway project is of vital importance to Serbia. He suggested that the two countries would complete it together if China's side offers even more favorable terms for cooperation.
This is an important day for us. I'm very grateful that we managed to sign this contract after long negotiations. I believe this will be finished on time.
According to a Chinese company, the construction of the highway segment will be completed in 36 months.
You're watching Economy Report. Here's the next story.
China Wednesday announced favorable measures to develop tourism for rural areas and poverty. The move is part of the country's strategy to eradicate poverty by 2020 through the use of targeted relief measures. The National Tourism Administration signed agreements with the Agricultural Development Bank of China and the China CITIC Bank. The funds will provide financial credit, helping impoverished counties to build tourist attractions. China CITIC Bank will lend around $30 billion to fund key projects featuring construction of distinctive scenic attractions. Thanks to a large injection of central and local spending, China beat its annual target last year and lifted 12.4 million people out of poverty. China announced new guidelines on Wednesday in a bid to improve its public services over the next few years. Highlighting equalization, the State Council said the government would ensure equal opportunities, make the system more inclusive, and give all citizens access to basic public services. Underprivileged people will see more favorable policies, while the gap between public services and urban-rural gaps will be narrowed. China will strive to bring its public service system to completion by 2020, with progress taking place in multiple areas, including education, employment, social security, and health care.
Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has called on intra-region connectivity in energy, infrastructure, transport, and trade sectors.
Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif opened a key regional conference on Wednesday, focusing on intra-region connectivity in energy, infrastructure, transport, and trade sectors. The theme of the 13th Summit of the Economic Cooperation Organization, or ECO, is connectivity for regional prosperity. Officials say the theme has taken on special significance given the backdrop of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project, which has seen billions of dollars of infrastructure development in the area. China's Vice Foreign Minister Zhang Yesui also attended the meeting as a special invitation. Addressing the summit, its new chairman Sharif called for intensified collaboration. He urged members to exploit the enormous potential of ECO and turn the region into a citadel of peace, progress, and prosperity.
And now let's take a look at some company news. Up first, Snap, owner of messaging app Snapchat, has priced its shares at $17 ahead of its listing on the U.S. stock market.
The flotation values the business at $24 billion, although Snap has never made a profit. It would turn the company's founders, Evan Spiegel and Bobby Murphy, into multi-billionaires. Snapchat, which is especially popular with teenagers, allows users to send images and messages that appear only temporarily. The shares were oversubscribed more than 10 times. Investors at the flotation would not have voting rights. Yahoo has reprimanded CEO Marissa Mayer and jettisons its top lawyer to address the mishandling of 2 major security breaches. The breaches exposed the personal information of more than 1 billion users and is said to have already cost the company $350 million. Yahoo's annual report on Wednesday indicated Mayer won't be paid her annual bonus or receive a stock award after an investigation found her management team had reacted too slowly to a breach discovered in 2014. Yahoo's general counsel, Ronald Bell, resigned without severance due to his department's slack response to the security lapses. The penalties are the company's latest loss in the fallout from one of the biggest security breaches in Internet history. Yahoo has already lowered the sales prices of its digital services to Verizon Communications by $350 million.
As Donald Trump became the 45th president of the United States, The question on how his administration will handle its relationship with Beijing has attracted great attention across the world. In today's special report, CNC talks to several experts who give their insights into the future Sino-U.S. economic relations. They stress the importance of the ties between the United States and China.
Trump comes to power at a time when Washington and other global powers are struggling with an ever-rising tide of trade protectionism. Many are facing an urge to backtrack on globalization. Reports say that the conservative position of Trump's senior advisors and cabinet secretaries indicates that the U.S. government might be tougher on China. The new administration could increase pressure on Beijing regarding trade and currency, among other areas. During his campaign trail, Trump has promised to bring back lost manufacturing jobs by renegotiating free trade deals and levying hefty tariffs on his trade partners. Experts warn that although the change under Trump does offer new opportunities, it could also lead to friction. New tensions could give rise to a trade war or a skirmish that they say should be avoided at all costs. Aggressive competition would be damaging to both countries and the global economy.
Trade is going to be the biggest issue. Obviously, he's going to go hard against the so-called free trade deals. He can't abolish free trade, but he can put in certain obstacles which would hopefully assist U.S. industry from getting out of the doldrums that they're in. I don't think that necessarily leads to a trade war, depending on how he approaches this. And I think also the Chinese would have a certain amount of leeway to cut agreements with Trump, even if he wants to impose tariffs on certain items.
Other experts stress that the production line and assembly of goods across many countries means that any changes Trump makes to trade are likely to affect many states.
He has the potential to cause problems for our trade with a lot of countries if he wants. And the problem is that international production these days is very much split across countries. So we never used to have this where some parts of which are made in a dozen countries and assembled in one country and moved on for further assembly in another country. If you put a barrier up in any one of those places, it causes a lot of problems for these companies. And even things that are produced in the U.S. mainly have lots of imported parts. And you can be counterproductive if you put up barriers to imports and actually make it difficult to produce things in your own country because you need those imports for production.
Some warn that tariffs or other hard measures imposed by Trump on China will lead to rising tensions between the two countries.
That said, he made such an issue of China and trade that probably he'll feel compelled to take some harsh measures. He might do something specific in steel, for example, with anti-dumping tariffs, or pick a few products. I think China will almost certainly retaliate. I just hope all of this can be kept at a modest scale, both the initial protectionist moves from the U.S. and the Chinese response.